Albert Breer wrote something yesterday. This is what he wrote about Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, about what the signing says. It's saying we're going to see what happens with Trey Lance, but we're going to make sure to cover our butts in the back end. That's a good thing to do. And get another guy in here ready to compete to get us through till Brock Purdy is back. Whether Darnold emerges or Lance emerges over the next 6 months, we've given ourselves another viable option until Brock Purdy comes back. That's interesting. I mean, to me, you look at, he's getting $4.5 million. That's more than Baker Mayfield's getting to compete for a starting job in Tampa. It kind of sounds like the Niners may have privately told Sam Darnold, hey, look, we don't really know when Brock Purdy's coming back. This competition might be for a starting job week 1, and it's between you and Trey Lance. What do you say? I don't know. How do you think there's going to be an off-season competition between these two to see where they figure in the depth chart?
It's going to be a competition, yeah, because you can't just hand it to Trey Lance. I don't think they like the fact that the way it played out with him last year and just handed it to him and didn't seem as pushy. So I'm all for the competition, but I'm a little like surprised why the signing all of a sudden is shocked. Like, oh, they got a quarterback, or they got Sam Darnold. It's like, no, this was always the plan.
Right.
It's like these two. It's like, first of all, Purdy and Lance are not healthy. Lance barely started throwing a weekend or two ago with college guys. And what does that mean? He's throwing. For all I know, he's literally taking 2-3 step drop backs and just throwing it. It's literally just to knock off some rust on, see where your conditioning is from your physical standpoint, from your feet to your arms, putting it together and trying to. It's the first step towards breaking that mental block that potentially could be there from all those injuries. So I'm a little shocked that, like, yes, of course they're trying to insulate the position. They need to. This was always the thought process. Now, I think it would have been scarier if it was going to be a starter situation if they signed someone like a Brissett, who surprisingly has not been signed yet. There's been like almost five quarterbacks signed by now. So his market's probably dipping more than it should be, or more than initially thought to be by myself. But yeah, with Darnold, it makes sense why they would want to make a quarterback competition, because, I mean, you just don't know if Purdy's going to be back still. I mean, sure, the surgery is good and fine and dandy, but God forbid something happens along the way that derails it or pushes it back further at that point. And now we really need Darnold to be, we got to try to have him be that guy with Lance. We need him to push Lance, and then we need him to be serviceable in case Lance goes down. So I think that's the way I'm reading it.
I've asked myself, like, would the Niners have signed Sam Darnold, or would Sam Darnold have signed with the 49ers if Brock Purdy hadn't injured his elbow and there wasn't a question with them? I don't know if he'd want to be here, but I think the fact that he's out, the Niners have said, best case he's back week 1, but that's just best case. They don't really know, and they have to be prepared for the worst case, which could be that the rehab lingers into the season, in which case, are they just going to hand the job to Trey Lance coming off this injury? He's had 4 starts. He's entering his 3rd season. I think clearly the answer is no. They did that last year. I don't think it was a popular move in the locker room. And so now they have, I don't know if it's I don't know if they'll be splitting reps with the first team, but if Trey Lance is struggling and Sam Darnold's looking good and the locker room decides that Sam Darnold's better, they can make that switch. And Sam Darnold absolutely could start week 1. So I do feel like we don't know who the starting quarterback could be week 1. It could be Brock. It could be Trey. It could be Darnold. And it would almost be fun to take bets on that in Vegas.
Yeah, it'll probably start at OTAs about maybe like 75-25 Lance.
It's going to be a tough competition for Trey because, again, he hasn't played much football, and Darnold has. He has 1,700 throws in the NFL. He's been on bad teams.
Honestly, he kind of sucks. I think
he does kind of suck. But here's the thing with Sam Darnold. He's actually kind of good when he gets rid of the ball quickly. Let me give you the stats for his career. Last year, he had a 104 rating when he got rid of the ball quickly, and for his career, he's got a 90 rating when he gets rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds or less, and a 68.8 completion percentage. When he holds onto the ball for more than 2.5 seconds, last year his quarterback rating was 83. His completion percentage dropped to 54. For his career, quarterback rating is 64 with a completion percentage of 49. The dude tries to do too much. He's indecisive. And when he holds the ball too long and tries to make plays, he's a disaster. If Kyle Shanahan can get him to buy into, hey, stop trying to do too much, all you got to do is throw where I tell you or check it down to Christian McCaffrey.
It was basically perfect for this offense. I mean, I don't know if you remember when they were sniffing around Sam Darnold 2 years ago literally 2 years ago this time, it was February. It was like, that was when every name in the book was getting thrown in. And I think we even talked about it on the show back on the OG Roundtable days where it was like Sam Darnold, Murray, all these names were getting thrown out. Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater was a name. Remember that? Yeah, so Darnold was a thing. So it looks I always thought it was something. It wasn't just, fluff thrown out there. People just attaching names. It's like, no, the Niners are kind of doing their due diligence on any quarterback that's out there. And I do think that always held weight back in 2021. And that's probably why they kind of jumped on it now. And they give him this contract. Like, it's like, oh, look at this sum. It's made more than Baker Mayfield. It's like, yeah, but how much is that really incentive laden? Probably a lot of it, I would say, by playing time. And again, it's because it's a very possible chance the first two quarterbacks in Purdy and Lance could be done again by injuries, man. It's just they just do not want to have a situation where we're screwed again, where we have to play someone like a Josh Johnson, or my God, it's the worst case scenario where we gotta get Christian McCaffrey to drop back and throw passes out there. So to me, this all works out perfectly. It's fine. I think if Purdy wasn't fine, then they maybe would have gone for someone more polished. Like I said, like maybe a Brissett, but then again, the market's kind of dictating itself if no one wants for him. But maybe someone a little higher tier name on the quarterback aspect, I would say, in the free agency market than a Darnold. So I think that's where they're kind of leaning towards.
I kind of like the signing. I feel like Darnold has upside, kind of like how Geno Smith had. I feel like he's been mismanaged. And if you go back and watch his film from last season with the Panthers, like he had his best stretch of games. He was 4-2 on the Panthers without Christian McCaffrey, with an interim head coach. I mean, it was Steve Wilkes, who's here now. And you watch his film, he does a lot of play action now. He's comfortable turning his back to the defense. You can roll him right, left. He can throw on the run. He throws a better deep ball than Jimmy Garoppolo. He has a stronger arm than Brock Purdy. He's actually pretty elusive. He can make guys miss in the pocket. He runs around a little bit. You can call the zone read for him at the goal line. He can score. Like, there's a whole lot he can do. It's all about getting him to stop trying to do too much. And I think you could argue that on other teams, he had to. On the Jets, he freaking had to. On the Niners, he doesn't. And is it like a bad habit at this point? Is he going to keep doing this? Or can he finally relax? Because this is what happened to Purdy, right? At Iowa State, he was trying to do too much. He was trying to play hero ball. He said it. He dropped in the draft. Now he comes to the Niners. It's like, wow, this is easier. I just have to take the easy throw. Does Sam Darnold have that epiphany too? Like, he still hasn't even turned 26. And this is why I feel like this is a legit competition for Trey, man. Like, this guy has pedigree. He was the third pick in the draft too. He has some skills. I mean, you can't just, it's not Nate Sudfeld. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is a real competition. And Trey has skills too, but you don't have any experience. So you really, really need to have a hell of an offseason.
That's where I'm all for it, because he needs again, competition always. I mean, you've said this before too about other draft picks throughout the years. Like, you just can't hand it to these guys. You have to make them work for it. Like, what the hell are you doing? And so, who was another good example of a quarterback? I remember you name dropped. That was just a debacle. I mean, I forgot who you mentioned. It was like a year or two ago. But anyways, it was just it's like you can't just have the throne there and just be like, all right, here's your scepter, here's your crown. Go ahead and rule with the iron fist.
Right?
It's like, no, that's not how it works, bro. You have to claw and scratch for it. You have to work for it, because again, that's where it leads to probably the locker room posse, right?
Also, because the locker room feels that Brock did that. The locker room feels that Jimmy did that. And I don't think that the vets in the locker room feel that Trey did that.
And that's probably why Purdy is on getting leaned to the side, because not only did he do it in a long stretch of games, but he did it on the playoff team, played well, elevated them, and won playoff games. So that's why it's kind of hard for them to move off other people, go towards the other direction from Purdy. One more thing, too.
Lance has had a real tough time winning over the Cabo clique, the Cabo crew, the vets on this team. He tries really hard. Hey, Fred, I'm gonna light you up in training camp, but it doesn't really seem like the Cabo clique buys it. Sam Darnold, on the other hand, because with Trey Lance, he's so much younger than them. It's like your little brother's friend try to come and hang out with you. It's like, dude, get it. I don't even know you, man. You're like 8. You're way younger than me. Sam Darnold is their age. He was the 18 draft. So was Fred Warner. He grew up. Sam Darnold's from San Clemente. Warner's from San Marcos. It's 45 minutes away from each other. They probably played each other in high school. They probably know. I bet Sam Darnold knows George Kittle, all those Cabo clip guys. So I'm just saying, if Darnold looks good in camp and Trey's shaky, I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing whispers through, certain media members that people in the locker room really liked Sam and he's looking good. Just wait for that. He's going to win over this locker room real quick if he's not throwing 8 picks a day.
Yeah, that's all it's going to take for him, just to play safe, play well, and Trey can't play as great or even that great. But again, if Trey can't just get it together, I know he's got his stats against him. He's coming off injury and stuff like that. Still has very little reps, but there's one thing he's actually shown in the last 2 years is he's been able to play pretty well throughout practices leading into training camp. So maybe that's an advantage he still has there over Sam, that hopefully it works out for him. I think he's still going to be fine. I think it's going to better him. It should better him. Plus, I personally think in the 49ers mind, it's not so much that we think Darnold can beat Lance. It's we want Darnold to push Lance. And I think they have it already in their minds that Trey is the guy. They're just not going to be vocal with it and outspoken. They're going to say, battle it out. Let's do it, because that's the way they've done it through other positions, and it works out for the best for the most part. And they didn't do it for the most, the most premium position in football last year, and then look what happened.
I also think this is good for Lance. He hasn't really faced a lot of adversity in his life. The adversity he faced was not being taken seriously coming out of high school. That is adversity. But that's adversity at a very young age when you're living with your parents and they're sort of guiding you and helping you decide how to react and what to do. This is a whole different. Since then, he never lost in college. He became a top 3 pick with like no resume and was essentially gifted the starting job without, earning it. And I think he's gotten he hasn't had adversity. And now, boom, like Brock Purdy's taking your spot. You've been injured. Sam Darnold's here. Like, you really have to fight for your spot on this franchise, or else you'll be Sam Darnold. You will be Sam Darnold in 3 years. And I think it happens fast. He probably didn't see it coming. And maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to him, because if he is a legit competitor and a legit athlete, he's going to destroy Sam Darnold in this, in this competition.
Yeah, he needs it. Like I said, iron sharpens irons. Competition helps push it. It's going to make or break him. So, I mean, if Sam Darnold beats him, then at that point, it's like, it's kind of hard to defend him then. I would just hope at that point that the fix wasn't already in. I don't think it is. Like, maybe they didn't move off Lance too quickly in camp, I would say, if they did that.
Yeah, so I think they gave Darnold a 5-year deal. So 1-year deal is $4.5 million with 3. It's like,
pretty much says like you're just here to help insulate and push, and
he's not making more money than Lance.
Keep us competitive.
Yeah, absolutely.